Welcome back to the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is Rick Smith.
So mark the calendars. Saturday, October 18th, the big rally. Americans are going to be taken to the streets to be seen, heard, backed by popular demand. That's right, No Kings 2. So make sure you mark the calendar, and also check the website, nokings.org. Find the rally near you. Find the street near you to join in on the fun, the entertainment, and really the ability to tell your grandchildren that you were somewhere near the right side of history, standing up to the bully, and maybe that they're going to learn about in school. Nokings.org to find the rally near you. And look, excellent opportunity to look at the narrative that's been thrown out there that Portland and major cities across the U.S. are, just dumpster fire hellscapes that need federal intervention. We need troops on every street corner. And I got to tell you, I love the plushies and the furries and the animals and the Paw Patrol, all of that. And that's why I've asked business owner Thomas Gatley to come share some thoughts with us. He's the owner of Lone Fur Fitness. He's also the chair of the Kernside Business Association. The kind of folks that, generally aren't out in the front of all this. But Thomas, thanks for taking time for us.
My pleasure.
So let's start with right now, looking out your window. Anything burning?
Only the brilliant yellows and oranges of the leaves turning, I'm afraid.
No, look, the narrative that I'm getting from everyone is that your city, the place where you find yourself, it's a burning hellhole. That we need to come down with the iron fist of the law to make streets safe for folks like you.
Yeah, I mean, it's everyone who lives here knows it's ludicrous. We, from the baristas all the way up to the mayor and the police chief, the message has been, completely unanimous from a bunch of groups who don't necessarily agree about everything at all, that there is a half a block outside of the ice building on the south waterfront where you have several dozen to maybe sometimes up to 100 protesters who are sitting or standing around pretty quietly. Some of them are drinking tea, others are dancing in costumes. There is a general mood of, togetherness, generally pretty polite and civilized, right? And the message that they're sending is a message that resonates with all of us.
Yeah, we don't want federal troops marching in our streets. We want a government that works for all of us. We want an economy that works for all of us. But I'm listening to you, and I know people from Portland. I love people from Portland. Doesn't sound like a Portlandish accent.
Yeah, I'm an immigrant, one of those immigrants. So I come from England originally via China. I lived in Beijing for 13 years. So I met my wife, who was born in Portland, in London on a blind date. And then we lived in China for a long while and then came back in 2022 during all of those lockdowns. So I've experienced, I've lived in a place with kings. I've lived in a place under authoritarian communist leadership. And now I'm here in the US. So I have some points of comparison.
So you really do have an idea of what it's like to live in the kind of places that we're told we're in now. Can you, for my Red Hat crowd, can you explain what it is that they believe your neighborhood looks like in the places that actually are like they believe?
Yeah. So I think, some of these assertions are based on videos that have been resurfaced of back the BLM protests, which I guess now we're talking kind of 4 years ago or so. And there were legitimately a lot of people in the streets. There was conflict. A lot of that conflict was sparked by, plants and folks coming into town, kind of Proud Boy type associations. So there was some push and pull, some argy-bargy, and downtown did suffer from it. All of those things are long in the past. The city does not look like that now and hasn't looked like that for a long while. It is a pretty peaceful place, city of villages. It's a city, right? So it's not like you're living in the middle of the countryside or in a village. Like there is activity. There are all kinds of different people, but that's why we like it.
No, it's like every major city. You've got places that are going to have poverty and you're going to have problems in those areas. And it's how you deal with it. As I was researching, the Portland area, ready for this interview, all of the crime statistics, again, we're told, it's just a hellscape and it's horrible. But I'm looking at the numbers, and it seems that crime is plummeting. Violent crimes, gun crimes, all of this stuff is going in the right direction. No need, in my view, for federal troops. But again, you live there. This is your backyard. This is where you chose to do business. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I think so. One of the things that has been so nice to see is the democratic process working, basically, right? So people in Portland have a very clear idea in general, and it's reasonably unanimous on the kinds of things, the problems that we have and the things we need to solve. One of those, which was exacerbated by a drug policy, which was kind of excess liberalization at a time without sufficient funding for mental health infrastructure and drug rehabilitation infrastructure, wasn't a very good idea. It didn't work that well. So that got rolled back. The consequences of that and of COVID were we have had quite a significant increase in the unhoused population living on the streets. We had in previous years quite a lot of overdose deaths, which, it's tragic. Nobody wants that from any part of the community. But, this became a clear priority, and the mayor and the city council that we got in, but particularly Mayor Wilson, he made that the central plank of his policy platform. So he said, hey, we're going to put in a lot of investment into new shelters. We're going to put more investment into things like Portland Street Response, which is a non-police response team that comes along. They have counselors, they have folks in, kind of the drug rehabilitation space, and they will intervene with people without guns and solve situations without it having to get to a point of violence or conflict. And so what we've seen is people have said, this is the problem, we need to solve it. We've elected a mayor who has made this his core priority, and now we're in the process over the next 9-10 months of seeing whether that works.
It's amazing what happens when you have smart policies, but you back it up with some reasonable investment. It's amazing how these things work. Instead of just yelling at a problem, actually having a government that responds to it. Something that right now in Washington, D.C. is not the case. But maybe by putting the focus on Portland, maybe you could export some of that idea that government should work for people, that we should be doing things to make lives better, not just for others, but for ourselves. I mean, if we have to have radical self-interest, not having a homeless population that has all the problems that come with that, maybe doing something about that is good for us as well.
It really is. And, this is the reason that we started what we call the Coincide Business Association. So the neighborhood we live in has the most incredible selection. And it's not unique in Portland. Portland has an incredible number of small businesses, small locally owned businesses, has one of the highest portions of female-owned businesses, LGBTQ-owned businesses in the country. But it's just incredibly vibrant. And so we came to this neighborhood, we absolutely loved it. And it didn't really have any representation for all of those small businesses to kind of try and deal with some of the challenges they face. And what we kind of saw very early and very clearly, the kind of this Jane Jacobs model of how do you make a neighborhood prosperous and safe and a place that people want to live. It's basically all the same kind of thing. If you get people comfortable being out on the streets more, the streets are busier, people feel safer, then when you do have any incidents, there are more people around to help one another and deal with it. And at the same time, those people are shopping locally, those businesses are hiring people, and you get this virtuous positive cycles. So it just seems like, any attempt to create these unnecessary dichotomies between, oh, this is for businesses, or this is for renters, or this is for homeowners, it's just a false dichotomy. There are so many win-wins.
Yeah, no, but it's easier just to yell at somebody and say it's just their fault instead of actually doing the hard work. Because what you're talking about is hard work, as are these rallies. And I look at the organizing that's going into this No Kings rally, because look, as you've pointed out, you've lived in a place where there are kings. You've lived in a place where there are true problems. We don't want that here. I don't want an authoritarian leader, and I'm glad to see people right now taking this moment. But we're told these rallies are bad, not just for people because it divides us, but for businesses like yours. So in looking at these rallies, any gut reaction, any fear that there's going to be smash and grabs at your fitness center? Because you've got a pet dragon, I understand.
We do. Yeah, we have a bearded dragon. The only thing that members at our studio are worried about is the potential for deployment of military forces on the streets. The vast majority of people are very sympathetic to the protests outside ICE. They have also been extremely impressed, I think, in general, by the tone of the protest, that it's just been lighthearted, they've deployed a lot of humor. It's been non-aggressive. Like, it's really been hitting the note right. And I think the key, and this is the message we've been sending at every stage, is just don't take the bait. Like, this is such a distraction. It's such an attempt to kind of shift attention away from some of the other things that are going on the administration doesn't want us to look at, and to try and, create a reality in which one of the nation's most kind of liberally governed cities is failing. And we know living here that that's not true. This is a fantastic place, and it's only getting better. And so the key is we just refuse to take the bait, and we keep on living our lives.
No, that is a great message, because here's the thing. The response from Republicans has been very interesting in that they're all the troublemakers on the left who are going to show up to these rallies. And my favorite, everyone who goes is Antifa. So basically anyone who disagrees with this administration is now Antifa. So are you concerned about being labeled as Antifa? And do you have your membership card?
Yeah, no membership cards here of any kind. I mean, one of the things that's been so interesting, I guess, to see living in a variety of different places and being under different political kind of structures and getting to know a lot of people, like all of these attempts to kind of create broad brush definitions, throw people in a single box, and then make simple judgments and promulgate the idea that we can have these super simple solutions to very complex problems are, self-evidently ludicrous. We live in a society with people, whether we're in China or in the UK or here in the United States, where people have different priorities, but we, at the end of the day, tend to share more than what divides us. And so consequently, like, it's what's less important for me, at least, is the ideological, the doctrinal expressions, and more like, hey, once you've established, I think that this is important, I'm willing to have a conversation with you if you think something else is important, and we can figure out how to live together.
Yeah, wow. What a novel concept. People talking to each other instead of yelling past each other. It's quite a novel concept, which again is why I think these protests are helpful. The organizing that goes into them, look, the display to me is a good thing. It's going to send a message to the administration, but more importantly, you're going to meet other people in the street. You're going to make connections, and you're going to try and build community that I think has been sorely lacking. We're going to put down the damn phone, and we're going to actually look somebody in the eye and have a conversation, which I think, again, when you do that, the tone of that conversation changes an awful lot.
Yeah, it's so different to having any kind of debate online, right? When you can see someone's face and recognize their humanity. I think one of the most successful programs that we've seen here since the beginning of the pandemic has been the Street Plazas program. So we have one here in Kernside called Ankeny Rainbow Road, which was a pedestrianized area. The restaurants have put their chairs and tables outside. We have a stage. We run musical events, comedy events, all kinds of things through the summer. And the aim absolutely of that is to take people out of their houses, take them off their phones, get them mingling with one another, meeting one another, and enjoying themselves. And I think, yeah, that's exactly the kind of thing, the civic engagement, whether it's at a protest or hanging out, having coffee, we want more of it.
No, absolutely. Because you made an interesting point a second ago that I think is really important, that once you start talking to people, you find that you've got a lot more in common than you don't. And I take a lot of heat because I know a lot of red hats. I know a lot of people who voted for Donald Trump. We disagree on that vehemently, and we have, spirited discussions around it. But I can also see that, in other situations, they're decent people. They're decent neighbors. They're in a time of need, they'll be helpful. I just think we live in these different information realities, like Portland's this burning hellscape, that I think we need to start tearing down. I think this kind of a thing is very helpful. I do want to get your thoughts on, what's been your favorite response. The frog has gotten a lot of attention. The Paw Patrol with the dogs have gotten a lot of attention. What's been your favorite response to what's going on in Portland? And is that really, truly who and what Portland is?
Yeah, I love the dancing costume folks, and for a number of reasons, but I think they're so colorful. They're so inherently kind of joyful, and they exude a kind of both non-threatening as cartoon characters, right? But also like a party atmosphere that just immediately kind of dispels any sense that those people are there for violent purposes. They're clearly there to, express a disagreement, certainly a strongly felt disagreement with some of the policies of this administration, but to do so joyfully. The other one that's been really nice has been the people just taking tables out there, sitting down, having tea with one another, right? Like that the street, the public spaces belong to all of us, right? Our presence there is not an anomaly, or in some sense an act of aggression. It's an act of claiming something that already is ours.
And the empowerment that comes with that. And I think the important part of people finding each other in the street and this kind of organizing is, in this moment, it's easy to feel like I'm alone, and that the attacks are coming individually instead of finding your community and finding your ability to speak up and be seen and heard and all of that. So last question I've got for you, because clearly, as you've said, you're from other places. You've got friends and family in other places. What kind of a response from around the world have you gotten, from folks, concern, whatever? What kind of responses have you gotten?
Yeah, it's such an interesting question. So I think one of the deep ironies of the situation is that I think it's backfiring quite significantly on the administration. If indeed, I'm correct that the intention was to, paint the city with a false brush and to paint a liberal kind of caring city as a failure. I think what a lot of people still had kind of, in some sense, this idea of Portland as still being what it was during the BLM protests during the pandemic, a bit of a troubled place. That image has stayed with people. I think that this has pushed so much extremely entertaining social media content out in the world, which has been picked up by national and international stations, that actually a lot of people who still had somewhat of a out of date impression of the city are way up to date now. Like, they're seeing all of this amazing citizen journalism, and that vibe of Portland being a fun, silly, weird place that was so successful during the run of Portlandia and was incredible for tourism, incredible for young people moving to the city. That's kind of back again.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, because I'd seen a poll recently that said that the negative views of the city, have plummeted. Because look, when you've got the president of the United States who has this belief that there are bombs going off and that it's a war-torn hellhole, people tend to believe a president. I hope more recently, but they tend to buy what they're being told. And fortunately, by what we're seeing, that is changing the narrative. You'll be at the October 18th rally, I'm sure.
Heck yes.
not ducking for cover in fear of the marauding crowds who are going to destroy your business and steal your dragon.
I think we'll survive that.
All right. Well, Thomas, I appreciate you taking time for us. Thanks so much. It was great talking with you. I'd love to talk to you again at some point down the road.
Pleasure. Nice talking to you. Bye-bye.
Great stuff, Thomas Gatley. I want to go back to a second to remind people. October 18th, find your rally. Find that thing that's in your neck of the woods. Get out there and find someone in the middle of the street. You do that at nokings.org. Want to hear your thoughts? You going? Rick at thericksmithshow.com. Let me know. Maybe I'll see you there. Back after this.